Well, we're so delighted to have Joel and Kathy Davisson with us today, and they have a marriage majoring on ministry and have a story really that so many have gone through, from tragedy to triumph. So please join Joni and me as we welcome from the Palm Coast of Florida, Joel and Kathy Davisson.
Thank you.
Joel,
Thank you.
Miss Kathy, God bless you. So, Joel, let's start with you. Y'all got married in 1984, and soon you were a pastor of a church.
Yes.
And people that have never been pastors don't realize the unique responsibilities and pressures that come with that position.
Sure.
Because today people expect a pastor to wear 12 different professional hats and be on call 24 hours a day. And it is a hard job. And it will add stress to your life and to your marriage. And I'm not blaming anything that happened on the ministry, but that can be a contributing factor, can it?
Well, certainly. We got married in 1984, and our marriage actually went downhill in 1985. We started pastoring in 87. But the first 10 years of our marriage basically turned out to be hell, starting in about the 13th month. And it turned out I was an abuser. I had no idea I was an abuser. I thought I was a good Christian. And when we became pastors, I thought I was a good pastor. I thought I was a good husband. I just thought I had a problem wife. But it turned out I was an abuser. I was mentally abusive, verbally abusive, spiritually abusive. And Kathy suffered through that for those 9 years, 9 bad years, starting in the second year. And in the 7th year, while we were pastoring, I culminated all that by getting into adultery. So not only did she have bad treatment for 6 years leading up to the adultery, then she had the adultery, and things got worse after that as I continued to blame her, continued acting like the marriage problems were her fault. And I would spiritually abuse her the whole 9 years. We grew up under the old paradigm of marriage, what I like to say, what the church has suffered under for about 50 years, since like 1960. It's been taught that the husband is the head of the home, the wife is to submit to him, follow his leadership. And we have a 50% divorce rate. And that was what we believed, and it enabled me to be an abuser. And it wasn't until we went to a class in 1994 to teach us how to minister to couples where the husbands were severely physically abusive, and I realized I was an abuser. So I began a process of change. No credit to me. It was all credit to my wife. She held me accountable. Once she was given permission, unlike the first 10 years where the church told her to just be quiet, just submit, just pray, once she was given permission, no, you don't have to accept abuse. You tell Joel he must change. She held me accountable, and because of that, I became a great husband. So we had a fabulous marriage for 10 years. God spoke then to write a book, and that was back 7 years ago now, and the rest has been history and gone around the world.
Let me talk to Kathy a little bit. How did you survive through all of that? I mean, at some point, I know there were ladies listening saying, why didn't you divorce him? I mean, obviously, with all that he did.
I was one step away from divorcing him. And then we ended up in this class. And at that class, I got the permission to hold his feet to the fire. I didn't even know I was an abused wife. I thought that this was just normal life. And that I'm just supposed to be quiet, shut up, just submit and do whatever he tells me to do. How did I survive? In the Word. I was in the Word. I prayed all the time. I just constantly cried out to God, asking God to help me. But you know, honestly, none of that really worked a whole lot for me till someone gave me permission to say no to abuse and to say, I'm done with abuse. You can't treat me like this anymore. You know, the Bible tells a husband to agape love his wife 5 times, unconditionally love his wife. The Bible tells a wife to philandros love, which is a responsive love. Christ initiated, we the bride respond. That's how the bride of Christ is. We're responders. So when a man will truly love his wife like Christ loved the church, women truly respond back. When Jesus went to the cross, he went to the cross for a bride. That's who he went for the cross for.
So now in this class, when you realized then, Joel, that you were being abusive and I mean, you began to take a good hard look at yourself, is that when the change happened for you, Kathy, when he began to acknowledge that what he was doing was not right, was certainly not Christ-like or representative of someone in ministry?
Absolutely. God answered my prayers by getting us there, so that was the beginning step. But once I got that permission, that's when everything changed. A wife has to stand up and to say no to abuse. Wives can pray. They pray for years. We get ladies in for 30, 45 years into our ministry, prayed, cried out to God and all that stuff, and yet nothing changed until they finally took a stand and say, I don't have to be mistreated. I'm going to be treated like God's daughter and require him to do so.
Yes.
And let me say that you don't have to hit your spouse to abuse them. Words can wound.
Yes.
I mean, there are things you can say that 20 years are still resounding in their mind and in their heart and can be so very, very hurtful. And yes, there can be contributing factors when people are unfaithful, but if you're unfaithful, that is your responsibility. You made that decision. That's not your husband's fault. It's not your wife's fault. It's not even the devil's fault. It is your fault. You made that decision regardless of any contributing factors. So, Kathy, how is it? Because there is a right way for women to respond. Now, if a woman just gets a baseball bat and goes after her husband, that's probably not the best way to respond.
No.
How did they teach you how to respond, how to stand up for yourself, but to do it in a way to where it doesn't push the husband away, but it draws him to you? How did they teach you to do that?
Actually, no one even really taught me. I just kind of figured it out on myself. We went to the class. I learned about abuse. It was then I went home, and I had no way to figure this out. I just looked at him as a cute little puppy that I wanted to train on how to treat me. So I said, all right, I want to teach him how to treat me, and this is the way I want you to treat me. And when he would treat me wrong, if he was abusive, verbally abusive or whatever, I would call him on it and to say, no, you can't treat me like that. Now, when he treated me right, I responded back warmly to him. I got his favorite dinner. I just lots of hugs and smiles and stuff right back at him as he treated me good.
I'd be on the unlimited plan.
Like the cell phone, you know, the unlimited plan. We teach the message, and we give the cell phone plan, and how well you do that is how much plan you get.
All right, so Joel, how soon did you begin to learn then right and proper behavior?
It was a struggle. It was day to day. The first 6 months were very difficult because I was so abusive, and Kathy would say no, and I'd go, ugh, but I want to get my agenda across. I want to push my agenda. I want to get my thoughts across. Joel, stop, because I'd be abusing her. I'd be getting over into her territory. And it was a struggle. But after 6 months, it started to get easier. And we ended up, after about a year, we ended up with a great marriage. And then we just lived that great marriage. It kept getting better and better and better, of course.
All right, so how good were the fringe benefits when you were good and you got rewarded?
Oh, the fringe benefits are great. Unlimited plan. I've been on unlimited plan for years now. Life is great. And we have what we call oxytocin dispenser now. That's when a husband gives his wife lots of hugs, smiles, kisses, and compliments. And that raises the wife's oxytocin. It causes her to be healthy, happy.
And oxytocin is a chemical in the brain that causes people to have a good feeling.
It does. It causes a wife to feel good. It's endorphin.
Yeah.
It causes her to bond when she breastfeeds to her children. But when a husband increases her oxytocin with hugs, smiles, and kisses, she bonds to him. The only time a man gets oxytocin is when they make love. So, but I get to touch Kathy all the time, hug, smile, kiss. It raises her oxytocin.
Yeah. It makes me want to hug my
Absolutely.
sweetheart.
Absolutely. And it makes a woman live longer. It makes her healthier.
Well, Joni's going to live about 120.
Amen. Absolutely.
Well, you know, it's so neat what God has done in you guys' marriage. Now, how long have things been really good after being bad for so long?
Starting about 2005, it was good. It took about a year to get good. And then, I'm sorry, 1995. Sorry, 1995, it got good. Then we had a great marriage, 9 years. We just lived our family. We got out of the ministry, did secular employment, and just raised our family, 4 kids. It was glory years, soccer, baseball, that stuff, and just had a great marriage. And then in 2004, God just spoke out of the blue. We had no intention of ever writing a book. He said, I want you to write a book, tell your story, and tell what I taught you about marriage. And we were shocked. It's like, what? We're going to write a book on, I was a pastor that committed adultery. Nobody will ever want to talk to us again. Well, that's the beginning of the end of the ministry that we wanted to be in someday. And we wrote the book, and it changed lives instantly. And
okay, I want to talk about that for you, Kathy, because you were the innocent party. The Bible does say that adultery is a cause for divorce, but it doesn't say that you have to divorce your spouse if they commit adultery.
Right.
I mean, sometimes people just can't get over that, and that's understandable. How did the Lord help you to forgive Joel and to not end the marriage?
Yeah, because I wanted the marriage. And because I wanted the marriage, I didn't want my children to grow up in a divorced home. So that really helped with the whole process. And so I was able to just kind of say, all right, if I'm going to live with this man, I'm going to have to forgive him. You know, that's the only way a good marriage is going to be able to go forward, is if I learn to forgive. And that was tough, because the 3 years after the adultery was huge. The abuse, because he didn't acknowledge the affair as really severe. He just thought it was just some little blippy thing that happened in our world. You know, didn't matter that it hurt me so bad. So once he got over on the other side and really acknowledged it and really apologized, then I was able to really make that big clean break. But a husband really, like for him, he had to really acknowledge that, and that it really hurt. It wasn't just something little.
And Joel, now looking back, how much does it mean to you that Kathy forgave you for that?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I thank God every day for the wife he gave me. I would be a derelict if it wasn't for Kathy standing up and teaching me how to be a good husband and teaching me how to grow up and mature and become a man of integrity and character. I would have just been a derelict. And even though leading up to the adultery, I mean, I never lied. I had a lot of integrity in those ways. But there's, adultery is bad, and so my character was bad. My core needed to change. And so she helped me. The Bible says a woman is her husband's helpmeet, and that word helpmeet really means to help him to become the man God's called him to be. And so we as men become the men God's called us to be as we become the husbands that our wife need us to be.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's put their information up, if we could, on the screen. The man of her dreams, the woman of his, the man of her dreams, the woman of his. And I love that. And I know those of you, especially that are struggling in the area of marriage, this could be a great blessing to you.